All right. Hello, hello. Just getting set up here. I think we are live. Looks like we are. Okay. So I'm going to open up a terminal. Get into my development folder. And open up trusty Vim. All right. So welcome everybody to another live game engine development stream. This stream is basically where we are building a game engine from scratch using C and Vulkan as our primary rendering backend. And we're using as minimal library use as we possibly can. So there's two small single header file libraries that we're using to load images and fonts. But other than that, everything else here is written on stream. So what we've been working on lately is terrains. So we're going to pick up where we left off before and continue on with that, and hopefully make some decent progress on that tonight. Before I do move on to that, though, I do just want to take a quick second and thank all of the supporters of the channel. So these are the, starting with the partners of the channel, those are the highest tier supporters on Patreon and YouTube. That's Aorslia, Gerbolis Inc., Paul S., and Wenchang. And I'd like to thank all the other supporters here on the screen. These include the other YouTube members, as well as the other Patreon members and the Twitch subs. So thank you very much for your support there. And of course, I also want to take a moment to thank everybody who is tuning into the stream and following along and interacting and so forth. I really appreciate you guys. None of this would be possible without you. So thank you very much for being here and supporting this project as we go. So, like I said, we are going to pick up where we kind of left off. So I put a little note to myself in here, left off terrain count coming back as 0, but why? So let's go ahead and pick this up. I thought about this actually after we shut down the stream last night, and I think I actually might know what part of the problem is. So let's save that file and open up the scene. So I specifically remember, if we split vertically here for a second and open up the scene loader, I vaguely remember putting something in here that we had some requirements in terms of what fields were actually required in order for it to be considered a valid scene file. And here we go, terrains require both name and resource name. And I was thinking about it, and I don't think I put a resource name in here for the terrain, and I did not. So most likely it was failing here. And I was having some issues last night with pulling up the console file because some of my Vim settings weren't correct, but I've gone ahead and straightened those things out as well. So we just need to add resource name, and we're going to set that to also test terrain. Now, we're not going to actually be loading resource just yet, but that is a requirement of the parser. So we'll go ahead and get that in there. And then I'm going to actually shut down that buffer and open up the, let's go to the render view world here, because I suspect there's going to be some problems in here. Let's just have a quick look as a refresher on what we're doing here. So we have render view world on render. We go through the render passes. We begin the render pass. We have each terrain. For each terrain, this is rather inefficient, actually. So we're getting the shader every single time for every terrain, which is dumb. We're checking that every single time, and then we're also using that shader repeatedly, which is also not great. So I think what I'm going to do instead is say here, if terrain count is greater than 0, then we will go ahead and let's take all of these things here and put them here. Right. And that way we only actually do this once. We are going to have to scope this shader though, I think. Let's see. Do we need that for anything? Because I think we've used it and it's stateful, so we might actually not need that. Okay. We could probably cache this as well. We really don't need to do this every time here as well. But for right now, I'll go ahead and leave it as is. That's at least a little bit better than what we had. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go ahead and we'll run. And we will go ahead and load up a terrain. And it looks like we've got some sort of issue going on here. So let's see, where are we? Yeah, we've definitely got some errors here. So I'm going to go ahead and actually kill this. And this is probably something I'm going to need to address, is our console sort of gets shrunk down a little bit here. So I guess it's not really great that is sort of shrinking our window. So we may actually have to address that. All right. Taman, hello. Good evening. How are you? Welcome. And Alparkin, looks like you used the Kohi command. Is my bot not working? That's really kind of strange. I thought that... I guess maybe my bot... Yeah. I've been reading a lot and hearing a lot about people's bots breaking. And I'm just using the Streamlabs bot, so it's probably busted. What that does is it basically gives you a link to the website. So if you go to kohiengine.com, you'll see what it's trying to actually load for you. So, in fact, let's see. I can actually just pull that up here real quick. So I'll just grab a floating window here. Right. And so if you go to kohiengine.com, it'll actually give you everything in terms of information about the project. So that is basically what that link, or what that command was supposed to give you, was a link to here. All right. Okay. So it looks like we definitely got some errors. This is kind of unreadable like that. So I'm going to open... I'm going to open console.log. And we'll have a look here at the bottom of the file. So it looks like we successfully loaded our mesh sponza. And then we got some validation errors. Acquire next image KHR. Oh, really? Why did that fail? VK object type semaphore. Semaphore must not be currently signaled. Why would the semaphore be signaled? Semaphore is not it must be unsignaled. Okay, yeah, that's all saying the same thing. All right, what's this other one here? VK command draw indexed. I suspect this might actually be the problem. Must not call VK command draw indexed on this command buffer while there is no VK bind point graphics pipeline bound. Interesting. Valid pipeline must be bound to the pipeline bind point used by this command. But we were binding a pipeline because we were binding the shader. That is peculiar. So I think if we just run this by itself, I'll need to go here. So if I just run this by itself and then exit, it's successful. We don't get any errors. But it's bleating about a pipeline not being bound, which is really strange. So I guess let's take a look at it's got to be something we're doing wrong in our view. So we're beginning the render pass. We do a shader use, which that internally should bind the pipeline. I suppose we should probably debug this and step through it and make sure that that is actually doing the thing. So I guess we'll start there. So let's run. And we have terrain count. We should probably make sure that we actually have that first. So let's go ahead and get that. Terrain count is still 0. Oh, right, because we haven't loaded anything yet. Let me turn this off and continue. So, how do I want to do this? I guess I could just do... Put a breakpoint here. Try and put a command there and see what happens. So if terrain count, okay, so we do have a terrain count here. Did we get a shader? S, there it is. Okay, yeah, we did get a shader. Let's see, does everything in here look valid? Let's see, let me just catch up with chat here. I love that you're using C and not C++. Yeah. I much prefer C, to be completely honest. I just like it a lot better. It's simpler and not so messy. Oh no, synchronization issues. Yeah, it might be synchronization issues. I don't know though. I don't know. It could be. I'm not leaping to that just yet. Okay, so we do have a shader. Oh, wait a minute. I thought we had a shader. No, that's a null pointer. What was... That wasn't a null pointer a second ago, was it? Am I just imagining things? Okay, so I guess let me put a breakpoint here and kill the app, relaunch it. I'm going to get rid of this breakpoint and continue and then load. And yeah, there's a shader here. Global UBO size. Oh wait, this looks like rubbish though. Yeah, like these are all invalid IDs and stuff. So, do we have any... We don't have any exceptions down here. So the shader, get shader ID, shader name. This is going to look through our hash table. That's returning a null pointer. So that means our hash table never got that. All right, so are we not loading this correctly then? Is the next question. In render view world, I could have swore wasn't there something up here where we were loading that? I could have swore we did that. Yeah, load terrain shader. Shader system create, terrain shader config. Shader built-in terrain. Oh, did I literally just call it the wrong thing? Shader get. What was that? Shader system get. Shader system get. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to actually get the fragment shader and the vertex shader name instead of the actual right thing. Yeah, that should be the name of the, so it should be shader.builtin.terrain. Where did I come up with this off the top of my head? This is completely wrong. Shader built-in terrain. Okay, now we should at least get the shader. That's probably where that error was coming from. All right, so let's open up a terminal and we will do a build. All right, and let's just run this and see what we get. All right, so we'll load, then we'll hit our breakpoint. I'm just going to step over the shader system get this time and see. Yeah, see, now we actually do have a proper shader. So we have one with an ID, a name, all that stuff. Okay. All right, so we should be able to use that then. Actually, we might be good as far as that's concerned. So I'm going to continue and see how we blow up. If we blow up at all, which we're not, surprisingly. Okay, but I don't see geometry yet. I don't see geometry anywhere yet. So that's peculiar. Let's take a look at, let's see, on render. We do have terrain count. And we are doing a drawdown here, correct? Yeah, we are hitting that. So this makes me wonder if we're like missing a piece of data, or maybe there's a piece of data that is just wrong. So let's see, let's take a look at some of our directional light data is here. Right, so that looks like what we expect. What about our projection matrix and all that other fun stuff? So here's our view matrix. Nope, that's the view, sorry. The view matrix is here. That looks valid. Okay, so it's not that's hosed. The projection matrix also looks valid. So I don't see anything wrong there. View position looks valid. Geometry count. Terrain geometry count, we have 1 terrain geometry. If we take a look at the first one, it's model data. Should just be an identity matrix, and it is. So that is valid. Oh, its generation is invalid ID. That might be what the problem is, actually. Because I'll bet if we step into this guy, are we even checking geometry data here? Actually, I don't know that we are. What does the generation mean? So all the generation is I basically keep track of how many times something has been loaded. So every time I reload a resource, its generation counter gets incremented. If a resource has never been loaded at all, then its generation ID is an invalid ID, which is basically, depending on the size of the integer for that particular item, is just the maximum of that number, right? So it would be like for an unsigned character, for example, invalid ID would be 255, right? And then anything below 255 would be valid. For a 16 bit integer, it would be 65 535, right? It's basically ref counting. No, it's not ref counting. So what that does is there's some synchronization that happens with certain entity types on the back end with Vulkan, where let's use textures as an example. So the very first time a texture is loaded, it would have a generation of 0, right? And then let's say, for example, I edited that texture on disk and wanted to hot reload it. Well, then I would need to say, okay, well, I've detected a hot reload and I'm reloading this texture. And when that loading is done, I increment the generation, and then the back end knows to go ahead and shoot that over to the GPU. So there's various things that it's used for, but hot reloading is basically going to be the biggest one. So, hope that makes sense. Although I'm seeing here that I'm actually not checking generation, at least not so far, which is kind of bad. So I probably am going to need to fix that at some point. Let's see. So yeah, that makes sense that we don't draw that one because we have an index buffer. It does include index data. Aha, we got some sort of error over here. Ooh, pipeline layout. Sweet. All right, let me continue the application. Oh, you know what? That might have been because I resized the window strangely. All right, let me kill this for a second. Disable that breakpoint. Continue. Kill it. Okay. I'm thinking if we take a look at the console log, yes, we want to load the file. Go all the way to the bottom. Yeah, these are all the window resize events. Pipeline layout. Statically uses a descriptor set, index 1, which is not compatible with the correctly bound descriptor sets. Pipeline layout 0. Why did I only get that message twice, though? I would think if that was an ongoing thing that... Let me run this one more time without breakpoints. I think I know roughly what the problem might be, but we'll see. Yeah, see, we're getting a bunch of validation errors now. Okay. So I think there's some sort of mismatch between the way I've set up the shader and the way that I've set up the object data, because these are all the same thing. So the backend keeps track of the current generation of everything in order to compare each asset. Yeah, I basically just do a quick check to see if the generations match. That's something I probably will only be doing in debug builds. So eventually I'll probably be removing that logic for release builds, or at least commenting out, or, you know, pound if defing it or something like that. Because we wouldn't really want to do that in production, right? Because that's a bunch of checks that wouldn't ever need to happen in a production environment. But for an editor, we absolutely need that. So I built it in there for now with that in mind. Let's see. Okay, so this is bleating about the pipeline layout. Specifically about descriptor set index 1, which is not compatible with the currently bound descriptor set's pipeline layout. Okay. So I wonder if this is a direct result of me making everything global. So let me have a look at the terrain shader config. So all of our attributes are the same. The minute this changes, well, no, we should still be good with this, actually. We haven't actually changed this, I don't think. Or did we? We have terrain vertex. But that is a position, normal, texture coordinate, color, and tangent, which matches this for now. We are eventually going to have material weights, but we haven't done that yet, so this should match up. And it does. Okay. So our all of this makes sense. We don't have any diffuse, or we don't have any samplers rather. Diffuse color, directional light. All of these sizes make sense. Okay, so I don't see anything here that immediately jumps out to me as being wrong. I guess the other thing that I could kind of compare it to, I don't think it's this, but configure render views. We want the actual definition. Let me take a look at the world view. So this is the pass that we're associating it with. I don't think there's anything in here that should be mismatched, right? These are just the attachments. And that's it. So there's nothing. I don't see anything here. Need to go back, actually, I think. This is all saying the descriptors don't match up with the pipeline layout, but the pipeline layout is dynamic based on how we configure our shader. So I'm confused as to how that's not lining up. Has nothing to do with the render pass, so I know it's not that. Let's take a look at let me see if I missed something in the view. I don't think so, though. Yeah, every single one of these is global. Is it maybe the shader itself that's wrong? What was it? Terrain, shader, vert, GLSL. So this has the same layout. It matches that. I really need to get reflection up and running so I don't have to do all of this, but for right now, this is where we're at. So we have that, the global uniform object. We have projection, view, ambient color, view position, mode, diffuse color, directional light, the point lights, number of point lights, shininess, and the model matrix. So I don't see anything there at all that looks wrong to me. This is all pretty straightforward stuff as well. Unless maybe it's I would think if it was an alignment issue, it would work anyway. I feel like this is going to be one of those things where it's going to be something really stupid that I've missed. We only have one descriptor set. So let me do a comparison here to material. Shader config. I'll pull that up over here, and then over here, I'll pull up material vert. Because these essentially should be almost identical minus the change in scope. And they are. Well, with the exception of these. These guys. Everything else is the same. And as far as the global uniform object, that obviously has everything jammed into it now, instead of push constants and locals, which are only used over on the other side. I don't see anything here that looks wrong. These are, for all intents and purposes, identical. So I might actually have to start poking through the Vulkan logic to see what is actually going on here. Close some panes here, and I'll go to I guess I'll go to Vulkan. I don't want to set a breakpoint in the back end. Let me go back to the view, I guess. View world C. And when we do the load of the shader, right here, I'll set my breakpoint here, and we'll see what we get. All right. So we're going to step in. This is all just initialization stuff, so I'm not really too worried about that. So we have depth test, we have depth right. Shoot, this is what I wanted to actually step into. And I skipped it. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay, so I know this is the wrong shader because we didn't hit our other breakpoint first. Here we go. So we can step into this, go forward to this, go to our shader create. Okay, here's where we set up our internal data, our stage flags, which we have vertex, and we should also have fragment, and that should be it. Okay. There's the render pass. It's not going to like the fact I resized that, but I don't care at the moment. All right, so here's the stages. So this is the vertex stage. and the fragment stage. Okay. Here are the attributes and the uniforms. I can skip all of this because this is just defining what goes where. Global uniform count. So yeah, I guess this is actually where we go ahead and create the descriptor set. I believe, yeah. So I'll set a breakpoint here and continue to it. And let's go ahead and close that so we can see what we're doing. Our global uniform count in our internal shader should be, let's see, where is it? 11. That seems right based on what we had before. Okay, so we do have the right number of uniforms. So we do have a global UBO binding. Binding index at this point should be 0. Yes. Descriptor count, we only have one descriptor. Okay, and then do we have a sampler count? I don't believe we do. Internal shader. Internal shader. We have global uniform count, and then global sampler count is in fact 0. Okay, so we skip over that. And then we have config descriptor count, descriptor set count, right? Okay, so these both would belong to the same set, so that should only have one set. The instance uniform count should be 0. Instance uniform count is 0. And the instance uniform sampler count is also 0. So we basically skip over that entirely. I'm going to skip over this. Actually, yeah, this whole thing looks good. All right, so it looks like it's reading in all of our stuff correctly. So I guess let's check the attributes. So we set the size there. Push the attributes. We don't really need to step through that. Okay, so we should have, 5? 3, 4, 5. And then uniforms, we had 11 of these guys. So we basically should always hit the second case because we don't have any samplers. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Done. All right, shader initialize. So this is where all the heavy lifting is done. So we create a shader module for each stage. We don't need to step through that. That should be fine. Okay, so this is just the attributes. That should be fine. I don't foresee any issues there. Okay. Here is the descriptor pool. Again, that should be fine. Create a descriptor pool. Descriptor set layouts. So this should be is where we have all of our bindings. So internal shader config. Descriptor sets. That is a hard-coded array of 2, but we only have 1, so we only care about the first one. Here are the bindings. There are 2. The first one is going to be global. Uniform buffer. So we have stage flags. And then the second one is going to be the sampler, but we don't have any descriptor counts there. And then we feed that info directly to bk create descriptor set layout. This all looks like it lines up to me. Well, I guess here's the pipeline config. So we have pipeline config. Let's have a look at that just to see what actually got set. Collapse a couple of these other things. Pipeline config, here we go. So we'll just step through all of these and see. So we have a render pass, we have a stride of 60, attribute count of 5. Here's a list of attributes. Descriptor set layout, we have 1. Descriptor set layouts, we have just an array of 1. Stage count is 2. Viewport, scissor. We do not have any push constants because we don't have any locals, so that is correct. Okay, so once again, I actually don't see anything wrong with any of this. Here we create our render buffers. So that actually all looks correct. Which is very interesting. So you know what I didn't do? I didn't look at the fragment shader to see if something else was passed in here. What did I... Pulled up the compiled shader instead. Okay. So that's the out color, direction light, point light. Oh, wait a minute. This is wrong. This shouldn't be here. We don't have this set. That is the problem. Our shader is foobar. We found the issue. Okay. So this does not match what we actually configured. Yay. All right. So what actually uses instance UBO? Anything. Of course. Yep. Okay. So let's split vertical here. Let's go back to our terrain shader. We'll grab the fragment, or no, the vertex. And we need this guy, right? Because he's used on both sides. We need to come over here and put him here. Highlight this, get rid of that. Okay, we have these structures here. Okay, so basically I just need to change all these global UBOs, or all these instance UBOs to global. So global UBO. Just do that there, 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 and there. Okay. So we'll go ahead and write that. We'll pull up our terminal, and we will do, move this up so you guys can see it. We'll do a, post build. Oh, I screwed something up. Line 33. Oh, okay. Max point light max. Okay. Do I use max point lights in here anywhere? No. So I could just change this to be point light max. All right, and post build again. Oh, now what? Point light max. Undeclared identifier. Did I not write the file? That is a constant, yeah. Okay. Let me try this again. There we go. I must not have written a file. Okay. All right, so I guess let's go to the render view world, and we will launch. And oh, I probably have a couple breakpoints set here. Yeah, let's get rid of that one. And let's get rid of that one. And we'll get rid of that one. Okay. So we'll load up. Okay. Let's see. We are not getting validation errors anymore, so that is a good sign. Hopefully it means that we are actually rendering some geometry somewhere. Although, you know, the location of it might be wrong. I don't think so though, because I think I zero indexed the whole thing, so it should be like right down around here in the center of the scene somewhere. Let's see. I mean, yeah, I'm like below where it should be now. We're not getting any sort of nothing in the logs, I don't think. to indicate failure. Nope, I don't see anything here. I don't see anything. Should probably make that scroll a little bit faster, I suppose. Okay. So we're still not rendering for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. Let me just do my due diligence and check the logs. Like I said, I don't think there's anything. Yeah, see, there's nothing here. This is when all this stuff was loaded in. We're not loading any textures, so we don't really have anything to go on there. I guess when we go to draw, on render. So we have the terrain here. I guess we'll just step through this again, right? So if we have a terrain count greater than 0, we'll just step through this real quick. All right, so we'll load. We'll go ahead and, so we do have the shader. We're applying all the uniforms. We're applying the point lights. That's the globals. There's the draw command. And then it moves on to the next one. I don't know about you guys, but I sure as heck don't see any geometry here. So I'm wondering, at this point, maybe if we have, if like maybe our geometry data is just coming in all whack. I don't see any back faces or anything. Okay. All right. There's a couple other things I probably should check, come to think of it. When I generate the geometry, I should probably check that all that data is actually like generating it as big as I configured it to. So let's go to simple scene. And we're just kind of plugging this in here. Let's put a breakpoint here. And we'll load. And we will step into this. So we take a copy of the config. And then I'm also going to put a terrain initialize here. So I'll put a breakpoint here. And I'm just going to continue the application. There's our answer. So our terrain initialize is never getting called, which is what actually sets up the geometry. So that is why we're not rendering anything. Okay. So we apparently forgot to hook that up somewhere. So let's look up simple scene. We'll do initialize. I thought we actually had done this. We know this is being called. We call terrain create. Oh, here we go. Okay, yeah, there is a step I missed. So we do the terrain create here just after the mesh create, right? And then we do the hierarchy to figure that out. And then we do the initialization code down here. We only do it for skybox and meshes, though. We're not actually doing it for the terrain. So for u32i equals 0, I is less than terrain count plus I. And I believe we already, do we not have terrain count already? I thought we did. Oh, we only have mesh count because we have that. Terrain config count, I suppose we could use that, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just I'm going to get it anyways. U32 terrain count equals darray length scene terrains, right? And then for each one of these guys, we will do if not terrain initialize, and we're going to pass the address of scene terrains sub I. So if that fails for some reason, we're going to say k error terrain failed to initialize. And again, like up here, we are returning false on these things, and I kind of feel like we shouldn't be, right? I kind of feel like we should throw an error, but like keep trying to load the scene. So I'm going to actually comment these guys out because I feel like we shouldn't be doing that. Okay, so let's go back to our terminal, and we will build and run again. All right, and we'll load. There's our terrain create, so we can actually kill that breakpoint and move on. And now we actually have our terrain initialized. So since we have our breakpoint here, why don't we just step through it real quick? So it looks like it passes our basic tests here. And I'm going to expand terrain here so we can kind of see these things being assigned. So it looks like our counts and our scales are being assigned. Our vertex count is 10,000, which makes sense for 100 by 100 grid. Yeah, I think. And then our index count is 60,000, which again I think makes sense. I might have some duplicated data in there. Oh, wait a minute. What was... that's a problem. I know why this crashed. Because our material count is 0. And we did not... We're trying to allocate, like, 0. Okay. So, kill that. Here's a bug. So, if t material count, which is funny because we're not even using materials yet, right? But we still need to manage this. So t materials equals 0. Okay. Oops. All right. So we shouldn't be initializing that unless we actually have something to initialize. Okay. So we actually wound up getting to here. I don't think I'm going to step through this for now. I'm going to assume that this stuff is at least close to correct, and we should at least see something, even if it's kind of foobar. So I'm going to get rid of these breakpoints. Open a terminal. Build. And close said terminal and run. All right, so we'll go ahead and load. All right, and we're loaded. So in theory, we should see some geometry. I know I've said that like 4 times now. Let's see. Where is our geometry? All right, did we do something stupid like not load it? It's not out here anywhere. Did we do something stupid like not load it? I guess that is probably the next thing we should look at. So, terrain initialize, we know that's being done. Terrain load. Let's go ahead and stuff a breakpoint right there. And we'll load. Okay, we are calling this. So we're setting the generation to invalid U16, which makes sense. Looks like it created these geometry, which is good. Let's take a look at the geometry itself. So the extents should be set now 0, 0, 0. Okay, that's not great. Although I might not have calculated that up here. I don't think I did. T origin. So the origin here should be probably all zeros. Yeah. Let's see. I should probably read chat. Let's see. I'm way behind on chat, actually. Sorry about that. Let me catch up for a second here. Try disabling spawns on. Maybe the terrain is clipping into it. Yeah, I was thinking that, but like I should see some Z fighting if that was the case. Why do you sometimes type def structs but still label them as structs and parameter definitions? Because wait. So are you saying when you say parameter definitions, you're talking about like when I say struct and then struct aim pointer or something like that? That's forward declaration, if that's what you're talking about. When it's simply labeling structs, he's forward declaring them. Yeah, forward declaring. Yeah. So it doesn't need to include the header file. Yes. No, I mean in function declarations. Yeah. So on the H, only on the C file. Yeah, it's a forward declaration. Yeah, I think we're talking about the same thing. Okay. So on the wait, where was I? Are you using a Vim plugin to get the nice debug output? Yes, I am using a plugin for that. It's called nvim DAP, D-A-P. And then it's got some plugins that it uses also. So actually, something that I was going to bring up later anyways, but I'll go ahead and bring it up now. I put a new post on my website, which is just travisverman.com, with my NeoVim setup. And so it's basically detailing like the entire setup as well as kind of how I got there. And so it details like all the plugins that I use, and then the configuration file layout that I have, and then some of the visual debugger setup. I kind of ran out of time, so like I didn't go into all the details, but most of it's here. And then you can actually find a link here to a GitHub repo that I put up with all of these files. So you could use this as like a start or like an example if you wanted to set it up. Okay. Related to Vim, is this a recent switch? I thought you used VS Code. Yes, it is very recent. As in like the last 4 or 5 streams, I think. Yeah, it's very recent. I've been daily driving Vim at work for several months now, and I'm really, really loving it. And so I just found a way to translate that to be able to use it for this too, and I'm really liking it a lot so far. There's a couple kinks I still have to work out, but every day it's getting better. Let's see. What's the shader output for the terrain? Generation is also invalid. Yeah. The generation is invalid, but I'm not actually checking it anywhere, which is hilarious. The backend's not checking it. It should be, but it's not. So I'll need to fix that as well at some point. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to like crank up render doc and try to determine what the heck is going on. Vaxerol, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. So, I guess the real question now becomes, do I have that render doc installed? I don't think I do. I don't. So let me go ahead and grab that real quick. You know what? I wonder if I can just install it as a package real quick. Does the AUR have it? I'm just installing this off screen really quickly. Does seem like it does. Let's see. Building. Crap tons of warnings. That seems fine. I suppose I could move this down here so you guys could see it. Let me kill this and move this guy down here. I'm building render doc, and apparently it's going to take a minute. So I'm going to let that run. I don't know why it's taking so long, but it is what it is. I don't know what it is, but like I feel like any project that I've ever used or worked on that's used CBake always seems to take a really long time to build. I don't know if it's CMake itself, but it's also C++, I suppose. It's one of the reasons I don't use C++. By shader output, I mean, what's the return value of the fragment shader? Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna crank up render doc so we can actually see what the heck's going on. Build systems are painful. Yes, they are. That's why I try to set my projects up with little to no dependencies. Most of the time, the libraries I use, if I use libraries at all, they'll be single header libraries or single file header libraries, like the STB libraries. Because there's no extra linking or configuration or other crap to be done. You could just focus on programming. You could just plop it in there and continue. And it really is an excellent way to work. Man, this is really taking a long time. I did not think it was going to take that long to build render doc. Well, hopefully it succeeds and doesn't fail. But yeah, I think, generally speaking, when you get to a point where you're like, okay, I think I'm feeding the data to the GPU and I'm not seeing something, it's generally time to crank up a tool like this and use it. Was there not pre-built binaries? I downloaded this from the AUR, so I don't think so. I maybe could have downloaded it from the website itself, but I don't tend to do that as much. Usually building doesn't take this long. I'm surprised how long this is actually taking. It might have been faster to get pre-built binaries, but this way also, like if I need to tweak a setting in RenderDoc, I can actually do that. I usually just do this offline. I was reading the fragment shader on the repo. It seems that you aren't using any texture at all, even the default one. Yes, that's correct. So because of the way that we're going to have to change how the materials work for multi-material support in terrains, I've elected for now to just shut them off and do the geometry portion of it first and get that straightened out and get things like our height map imports and stuff like that working, and then I'll switch back to materials and get that working as well alongside it. Just because if I try to do all of it at once, it's going to be a really long time before we see anything working, and I'm not a fan of that. But how will the terrain be shaded with no color? So I do have a color. There is a there's an ambient color that gets passed in, and then there's also a there's a diffuse color that's passed in, and then the lighting from the lights, or the values from the lights, also gets added to that. The value I'm passing in right now is all white, so it's not really going to be shaded, but it will show up. Like it's a bright white mesh. Like you're not going to be able to miss it when we actually get it running. So for right now, it's actually just going to be a plane, but it should be a plane of generated geometry. So it's basically just getting the geometry to show up first, and then switching over to enhancing how it looks and adding features. Oh man, I wish I'd thought to do this offline first. Let me see. Let me see if they have pre-built binaries I can use. This is really taking a long time. Let's see. I have a tarball. So let me put this here, I guess. Okay. So I guess since that's going to take an eternity, I'm going to move this off screen and let it keep running in the meantime. But what I'm going to do is I placed RenderDoc here. Let's see, we have a bin and then Q RenderDoc. Q RenderDoc. Wow, it's like we're literally right there, you dingus. Okay. Don't want to submit any statistics. So here we go. Vulkan capture is not configured. let's see. Implicit layer. Yes. Do you want to install the layer at a system level? No. I'll do it at the user level. All right. Let's see if we can make this work. So we have developments, bin, and then test bed. And we don't have any. Let me actually switch this guy over here. We don't have anything else, I don't think. I'm going to capture the first frame. Let's try launching this. It's going to be a comically small window, but that's fine. So load this up. And I'm going to just move back like here and take a capture. So let's look at this guy. I think I can kill the application now. And we shall see. So I've added some stuff here. Let's see. Render pass, built-in world. Looks like we have how many draw calls? So there should be like a big honkin' one in here somewhere. Let me float this window actually. I wonder if that's it. No. Are we not somehow issuing the draw call? Oh, I think I did it first, didn't I? Yeah, here it is. Here it is. So, okay, so that's interesting. Here is why this is useful. Look at the positions. They're all 0. That is not right. So apparently I did not. It looks fine, right? So the positions and the normals are all 0, and the texture coordinates are all 0. Like all of this crap is all zeros. No wonder it's not rendering. 60k vertices on the same spot, exactly. Okay, all right. So this actually, this gives me a cue. So let's do. We don't want to save these. I'm going to kill this and look at our code here. Oh my god. See what the problem is. Do you guys see it? Well, no, maybe I don't see it, actually. I thought I did. Yes, we have. Oh, yeah, I do see the problem. Well, I see a problem, I should say. So really, I should be out here, right? Because it's going to get reset every single time, otherwise here, right? So we need to get rid of this. All All right, so we have I here. That should be that's our index, right? And then every time we loop through here and here, like every time we complete a loop here, we increment I, and that should never be reset. So that was part of it. So tile scale X and tile scale Z. I wonder if those are 0 for some reason. But the interesting thing is like the normal and texture coordinate information was also all completely wrong. So we're generating it here. And aside from this issue, I think it was all correct. Although this has also got the same issue. So that should be there, not here. Are you not uploading the data? That's what I'm beginning to think, right? I thought I was doing that in terrain load, but yeah, actually that's what this should be doing. So we have vertex count vertices, index count indices. This is what should be doing it here. So I can set a breakpoint here, I suppose. Let me do build and run. Load. And I guess right, like this is where the actual upload happens. Is re-upload. This isn't a re-upload though. Geometry internal ID is not invalid ID. Oh, it's 0. Take a copy of the old range. So the internal data vertex count is what? 4? Where is it getting 4? Four and 6. What did I do? Did I not set the count correctly somehow? Vertex count is tile count X, tile count Z. What am I missing here? Let me just verify that all of these things are correct. I thought they were. I could have swore we did this already. So Our scale X and scale Z are both 1. Our counts are both 100. Yeah, our vertex count and our index count are that. So why was I seeing... Why was I seeing 4 and 6? All right, so if I continue... The terrain... Yeah, still has those correct counts. Okay. So we pass the size of a vertex, the vertex count, the array of vertices, the size, the count, and the array of indices. Okay, so if I step into that one, vertex count, index count. Okay, so those are correct. Vertex size is 60. That also seems correct. Oh, was I looking at the old range, perhaps? So internal data. Vertex count. Vertex. Okay, so that seems correct. So we allocate, and then we load the range. So this is actually what loads it into the buffer here. Yeah, 4 would be the old value. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I have to step over it. Yep. So the index count is there. Yep. Total size is there. We allocate. We load the range of data. Increment the generation. And then we free. What was the old range? Which is supposedly here. Which I'm not really 100% sure where that actually came from. I'm going to need to get to the bottom of that. But so we free the old ranges, and then it's uploaded. And then we up the geometry generation. So now it is no longer valid. And that should be it. I think we might have just fixed it. Yep. Okay. That was it. Except now it's facing the wrong way. So I apparently generated the geometry in the wrong way, or mixed up Y and Z somehow. But yeah, this is half what I was expecting to see. But you can see we have this, if I back out a little bit here, we have this huge ass plane here. It's on the wrong axis, but that's something, right? So why is it on the wrong axis is the next thing. It's a steep terrain, yeah. It's a friggin' cliff. All right. So when I generate the vertices, I am setting position X and position Z to these guys. And then position Y, I'm zeroing it. That seems like it should be correct. Okay. I'm using an identity matrix as my transform, so I don't think it's that. Why is it rotated that way? That doesn't make any sense. I think it's going to be, I've got something backwards somewhere for sure. So vertex position x equals x times t scale x position z okay. Oh, the render doc actually finished up finally. Let's run that again because I want to actually see what's coming through. So cd bin q render doc. All right. And let's just drag this down here, load the last settings, launch. And we will load this huge ass terrain and try to understand what is this crazy data we're looking at. So let's do a capture and we'll do a mesh viewer. I can kill this actually. Mesh viewer. So in the world render pass, this first guy, all these positions indeed have a y of 0. Oh, that's definitely not generated correctly. That's probably why, actually. That is definitely not what I'm looking for. That topology is way, way, way wrong. Okay. Oh, the normals are loading right, so that's something. Texture coordinates are probably just wrong as a result of everything else being wrong. Color is loading. Tangent we didn't calculate yet, so that makes sense that that's all zeroed out. But I'm not understanding, like, if I scroll all the way here, like, none of this stuff is... Deal, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Yeah, like, none of this stuff is actually... not one of these y's are above 0. Not one. So, I guess... Yep, these are all in the right format. So I don't think it's that. Yeah, it seems like the Y outputs are not 0. Yeah, for sure. I just don't quite understand why. No pun intended. Can I expand this a little bit? So the GL position here. I mean, yeah, these things are all over the place. I've got something is not being passed correctly here. It's like these are all over the place. So my data is coming in correctly. It's just not being transformed correctly for some reason. I wonder. Why are you giving me this? And I want this in floats, dang it. Where is the... I don't know why this is giving me to it this way. Here we go. So our projection is... I mean, our projection looks valid. Our view... The view looks valid. Model is just identity. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's not. Wait. What is this? The model matrix seems wrong. Yeah, what the heck is that? Okay. All right, that gives me something to go on at least. Why is the model matrix so foobar? We did a transform create, which should just be identity, right? Let me look at the view. Terrain geometries model. I actually need to see where that's coming from in the packet. So simple scene model. All right, so this is meshes terrain model. Transform world get. I mean, that's doing the same thing that's being done elsewhere. It's pulling it from the terrain itself. I guess I could put a breakpoint here and see what the heck it's doing. Let's get rid of that one. And let's get rid of some of these other ones. All right. I want to actually step into this. So here is the transform. So our position is 0. Our rotation is identity. And our scale should be 1. Okay. So the local, I don't think has been generated yet. But that's identity. Okay. And we don't have a parent. So we don't have a parent, so we return L. Okay. And we push this value. Terrain geometries. Push the data. Push that in there, and then drawn mesh count. Okay, so that actually seems correct. So I wonder if in the view world where we apply the model, if maybe it is incorrect somehow. Shader uniform, set by index, terrain locations model, packet, terrain geometries model. And I think this is just a matrix 4, so we should be taking the address of that. Terrain geometries I model. So I guess just to be sure, I'm going to put a breakpoint here and step into that. And the value should just be a straight up mem copy. So if we do oh, how do I do this? I don't remember now. I could have swore there was a way to. I don't remember how to add a watch. Is it create? Nope. All right, whatever. Let me pay attention to chat here for a second. Take a look at the transform data in render doc. Yeah, model is wrong. Time to stretch and hydrate. Yes. Hydrate first and stretch. I don't know why the model data is so foobar like that. I'm not seeing it. Oh, got an elbow pop right into the microphone for you there. Cool. All right. Packet. Terrain geometries. Model, data. See, it's right here. I guess let's go ahead and see one more time. We'll go in here. We'll get the model. Meant to go over this way. Isn't the problem that thing of copying the old stuff that got the vertex count equals 4, like the old matrix being copied? No. So the bit about the re-upload was for the vertex data and the index data. So basically, it's set up so that whenever you re-upload geometry, it needs to make sure that it frees the previous allocation in the buffer, because the geometry sizes and all that stuff itself will likely have changed. Terrain geometries. Very peculiar indeed. I think this might be where I call it for the night, to be completely honest. I think it's going to be something stupid. I know it, but I think it's probably because I'm tired. Terrain's X form. Model. So if I take this is all zeros now. If I step over this, that's an identity matrix. So if I get rid of this and then go back to view world, where we are setting the model matrix. Let's say data. Oops, I don't want data terrain locations. I want, was it packet terrain geometries? Sub I. So the model for that is identity matrix. Like, I'm not understanding how it's getting garbled on the way in. The only other thing that I can think that maybe it is, and this is a big maybe, is it could be an alignment issue, like a data alignment issue. So if I take a look at terrain shader config, we have mat4, vector4, vector3, u32, then vector4, struct32, struct480, i32, f32, mat4. So I wonder if I take this guy and move him there above all this other stuff, which means I'll have to do that in the shader as well. So projection view model, so I need the fragment shader. So maybe if I do that and the vertex shader, do the same thing. Right there. Just change the layout of it. Then do a build all first, and then a don't have it in here, post build. And then we'll try it. Because like all my data on the C side looks correct. So maybe it's just this that's wrong. So let me get rid of this breakpoint. Continue. Oh, uh-oh. Okay, now it's completely gone. Ah, no, it's not. It's upside down. Okay, yes, that was it. Okay. All right, it's upside down, but I can deal with that. Yeah, so there it is. And it's actually like square and on the right plane. Okay, cool. That is actually really cool that I figured that out at the last minute. So this is actually where I'm going to call it quits for tonight, because this is actually a pretty good place to stop. So our dynamically generated terrain geometry is rendering, albeit upside down, but rendering nonetheless. Alignment is a pain. That issue has bitten me more times than I can count over the years. And it's kind of like my last, heck with it. I don't know what else to try, so I'll try this, and then it fixes it. So cool. We have our now, granted, it just looks like a plane, right? It's not anything special, and it's not hooked up to our. I guess it is actually. It is actually using our special shaders, our modes. So that's cool as well. It looks like our normal information is correct in here as well, so that's good. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So this is actually a really good place to stop. So next time, I think we will go ahead and pick up on getting that flipped, and then we'll go ahead and read in an image of a height map, which will also allow us to get a larger dimension mesh, and then we'll use the data in that that image that we read in to modulate the height of the terrain along the y-axis, and that'll give us that. And then we can finally go back to textures and all the material work that we're going to have to do. So this is a good step in the right direction for sure. All right. So with that, in any case, let's see. I think tonight we are going to raid ferrets. Just because I don't feel like like I said, I'm tired, and I don't feel like sticking around for like a crazy long raid. So, but yes, ferrets are cute, and it helps support them with their feeding and bills and stuff, and they're cute to watch. So we're gonna raid some ferrets. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys being here and following me through my journey with all of this and all of my backwardsness and headaches that come along with it. So thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you guys next time.